never expected to see him again so soon. In the morning, I had let his dream girl go, and by nightfall, I was the one being caught. Denny, the CEO of a prominent corporation, leaned back on the luxurious leather couch. His eyes, usually impossible to read, flickered with the briefest hint of hesitation. The pressure in the room was suffocating, but for a moment, a fleeting second, he clenched them into a fist instead, burying any trace of weakness. Without preamble, he spoke, his voice as sharp and clear as a blade, yet the edges softened almost imperceptibly. You have two choices. 1. Bring her back within an hour. How long? I stammered, my heart pounding. By now, the plane carrying her to another country was already airborne. Not even a day would be enough to bring her back. He sat up straight, a slow, childlike smile spreading across his face. So, you can't bring her back, can you? Very well, he said, his tone deceptively gentle. Then you will take her place. I stared at him, utterly dumbfounded. Me, a grown man, take her place. But Denny wasn't joking. Before I could react, something cold and unyielding clamped around my wrist, as if I was being bound by an invisible chain. Panic surged through me. I'm a man. How can I possibly replace her? But Denny wasn't joking at all. Suddenly, I felt something cold on my wrist, like I'd been tied up tight. Okay, now I was freaking out. I mean, come on, I'm a guy. What do you mean by replace? Denny, as if worried I might make a run for it, tied the knot even tighter. Only then did he look up at me. Why not a guy? Have you ever tried? Of course not. Well then, how do you know it won't work? You hear yourself right now. Denny's message was crystal clear. Think you can escape. Go ahead, try. For the first time, I really felt that overbearing CEO vibe. Wait, hold on, I tried to reason, using my last bit of negotiation skills. Look, take a good look. I'm a guy. It's really not gonna happen. Denny wasn't interested in my protests. He grabbed me by the arm and dragged me out of the room. The hallway was filled with people, all whispering among themselves. I overheard fragments of their conversations. Did you hear? The CEO's beloved was let go this morning. Who could be so foolish to go against Denny? Once he catches you. Everyone watched as Denny, the famous young master of the Esterberg company. The mansion was huge, way bigger than anything I'd ever seen. As Denny showed me around, I couldn't help but blurt out, "Wow, your place is pretty fancy," I commented, and Denny glanced over casually. "It's all right. Get used to it. This will be your home too." I almost bit my tongue off in shock. Denny led me into the bedroom. It was huge, and the bed, even bigger. But there was only one. I stared at that massive bed, and this sinking feeling crept over me. Denny looked totally calm, while I was about to lose it. "Wait," I stammered. "We're sharing the bed. Like one bed. To dudes." Denny casually let go of the black cloth he'd been holding, completely ignoring my freakout. He looked like he was dead set on some serious revenge. He loosened his tie, shrugged off his jacket, and the first thing he said had me reeling. "So, you shower first? Or should I? Or maybe we could just do it together." My heart practically stopped. He didn't even wait for me to respond. Instead, he stepped closer, fingers easily popping open the first button of my shirt. By the time he got to the second, I totally lost it. "Denny," I shouted, finally managing to find my voice. "Are you seriously doing this?" But the Denny I remembered from our high school days was both similar and different. Back then, Denny wasn't so quiet. He'd actually go out of his way to talk to people, and was always down to help me out in a fight. After one of our victories, we were lying on the ground, out of breath, and I grinned at him. "Didn't expect it. You look kinda weak, but you fight pretty hard." Denny sat up and asked, "Why do you fight?" "My dad's in debt and doesn't pay up, so I'm the one getting beat for it." Denny was quiet for a second. "Is it a lot? Who knows?" Now, Denny is someone everyone's trying to impress in our circle. Looking at him now, all calm and collected, it hit me. The kid I used to know was long gone. In his place was this powerful guy who had everyone wrapped around his finger. He clearly had no memory of me, no clue about our past. And why would he? To him, I was just some throwaway, a stand-in for his precious dream girl. I gave you a choice. Denny's voice brought me back to the present. And I never agreed to be her substitute, I retorted, my fear giving way to anger. But he was already unbuttoning the second button of my shirt. Panic surged through me, and I lashed out. Stop. You're insane. But clearly, Denny didn't take my resistance seriously. Then why provoke a madman? I'll pay you back the money, okay? I'll find a way. Just let me go. Denny paused, his hand hovering near the third button, and then he smiled, a smile that sent a chill down my spine. I don't want your money. I was stunned into silence. If he didn't want money, what did he want? The realization hit me like a freight train. He wanted me. His revenge wasn't just about humiliating me. It was about replacing what he had lost, no matter the cost. And I was the one who had foolishly walked into his trap. By the time we got to the dining room, I'd already accepted how ridiculous this whole situation was. The room was just as fancy as the rest of the place, with this long, shiny table set for two. Denny motioned for me to sit, his face still locked in that calm, collected look he always had. The food was top tier, probably made by chefs who knew what they were doing way more than anything I'd ever tasted. But every bite felt like it got stuck in my throat, weighed down by the tension hanging between us. Denny, though, ate like it was nothing, slow, smooth, like we were just two old buddies having dinner. But I wasn't fooled. Every look he shot my way was a reminder that I was stuck, trapped in this luxurious prison, totally at his mercy. As we wrapped up dinner, he finally broke the silence. There's a business event tonight. You're coming with me? I almost spat out my water. Wait, what? Why? He gave me that cold, calculating look. You're going to be by my side from now on. People need to see us together. I swallowed, trying to sound steady. And if I say no, you won't. I wanted to argue, to push back against this whole weird power trip, but the memory of those bodyguards from earlier shut me up. Plus, deep down, I knew fighting him was pointless. Denny had already decided how this was gonna go. The event was just as over the top as I'd imagined. We pulled up in this sleek black car, the kind that makes people stare just because it exists. The venue was a glittering ballroom packed with the city's elite. Everyone who mattered was there, schmoozing, laughing, and probably making deals that could change the world. The second we walked in, all eyes were on us. People started whispering, but I couldn't catch any of it over the pounding in my ears. I felt like I was on display, just some spectacle for these rich predators to dissect. Denny didn't seem to care at all. He walked through the room like he owned the place, his hand resting on my lower back, guiding me like I was some kind of trophy. It was subtle, but the message was loud and clear. I was his. The night started off uneventful. Denny chatted up a bunch of business people, introducing me as his companion like it was no big deal. That word made me cringe inside, but I just plastered on a smile and played along with whatever role he had me in. And then, just like I knew it would, trouble showed up. Some guy I didn't know, but who clearly knew Denny, walked over with this smug look. He was tall, dressed sharp, but there was something nasty in his eyes that made my skin crawl. So, this is the stand-in, he sneered, voice dripping with sarcasm. Is Mr. John running low on cash or something? The jab stung, but I kept my face blank, refusing to give him the reaction he wanted. I've dealt with worse. This wasn't anything new. As soon as that snide comment dropped, laughter rippled through the room, and I froze. In that moment, it all clicked. Denny brought me here to make a spectacle out of me. I let his dream girl go, so naturally, I was here to be served up on a platter of public humiliation. What I didn't expect, Denny being the first one to clap back. His hand pressed a little harder on my back, but his voice stayed smooth. Careful, Tom. You're walking on thin ice. Tom, clearly loving the attention, just smirked. Oh, come on, Denny. We all know how much your dream girl meant to you. It's just shocking to see you with him. He flicked his hand toward me like I was some random piece of junk cluttering up their precious world. My blood was boiling, but Denny, not even a flinch. And then, without a word, Denny casually grabs a glass of wine from a passing waiter and splash. The room, dead silent. Tom stood there, dripping in red wine, looking like a wet cat in a fancy suit. But Denny, he didn't blink. His grip on my back tightened again, not like a power move, but more like a subtle I got you moment. Like, whoa, when did this turn into a buddy movie? Tom blinked, stunned, trying to pull himself together while the wine dripped down his nose. Denny's voice cut through the awkward silence, sharp and ice. Watch it. You might end up testing my patience, and trust me, it's not something you want to do. Tom sputtered, clearly thrown off his game, but the damage was done. Denny turned to me, and for a second, I swear there was something like concern in his eyes. Weird, right? Let's bounce. I nodded, too stunned to say anything, and followed him out of the ballroom. The whispers kicked back up the second we left, but honestly, I couldn't care less. All I could think about was how Denny, Mr. Calm and Calculated, just went full-on protective mode. Who knew? I was totally zoning out as I walked down the steps outside the banquet hall, and then it happened. My left foot betrayed me, tripping over my right leg, and I went flying forward. Denny caught me, but my knees still hit the ground hard. I yelped in pain. Great, just what I needed. Another embarrassing moment today. Denny's grip on my shoulders tightened as I hit the ground, and for once, he actually looked concerned. His brow furrowed deeper than I'd ever seen, like he couldn't believe I'd just face-planted right in front of him. Are you hurt? His voice was calm, but I could hear the tiny crack in it, like he was trying not to freak out. No, I'm good, I lied, hugging myself and pretending everything was totally fine. He didn't budge, though. His eyes stayed locked on me, like he was searching for some kind of reassurance that I wasn't about to crumble. He let it go for the moment, but as we made our way to the car, he slowed down and turned to me, his expression soft. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't expect things to turn out like that tonight. I just wanted you to be there. I looked at him, freaked out. Something was definitely off about him tonight. Maybe it was the alcohol, but suddenly he grabbed my wrist. I had to resist the urge to punch him in the face. Dude, let's talk this out, okay? No need for hands-on action. Seriously, I was terrified he was about to make a move on me. I wasn't ready for that. At all. If I felt even a tiny bit guilty towards Denny before, it vanished the moment he dragged me onto the bed. His hand started moving up my shirt, his fingers warm through the fabric. I got a sinking feeling. This is not going well. Not at all. Before things could get any weirder, I grabbed his wrist, my mind racing. Look, I know what I did wasn't cool, but forcing things, that's not it. You're trying to hold on to your dream girl? It won't work. I'll figure out how to pay you back, okay? Just get off me. Denny looked down at me, completely calm, not stopping for a second. His grip was strong, and even though I was holding his wrist, his voice was low as he said, I don't want your money. My mind flashed back to what he'd said at the banquet. Not about the money. If not money, then what the hell does he want? If it's not cash, then it's gotta be me. And that's terrifying. No, this can't be happening. I needed to talk some sense into him. You. My mind went blank for 2 whole seconds. And then, I freaked out. I really did. I shoved him off, my lips still tingling. What the hell, man? Are you insane? Wanna try? Try what? No way. Something was really off with Denny. I found myself instinctively dodging him. I mean, I'm a 6-foot-tall, full-grown man. I can't just let this slide. If it weren't for our history, I'd probably have thrown a punch by now. But the thing is, Denny meant something to me. As a bro. That's a line we can't cross. Not even a little bit. At work, I could only hope he'd eventually drop this ridiculous idea. Speaking of work, here's the crazy part. Ever since that banquet, my struggling company suddenly turned a corner. The more I avoided Denny, the closer he got. One night, he knocked on my door, blanket in hand, and barged right in. I stared at him, frowning. What's this about? I'm here to sleep. Wait, what? I just stood there, staring, speechless. No words could describe the level of anger I was feeling right now. And yet, here we were, lying side by side in the same bed like it was no big deal. I lay there, stiff as a board, listening to his breathing get closer and closer. I thought I was just imagining it because I was tense, but then I opened my eyes, and there he was, right next to me. I couldn't take it anymore. Denny, I gritted through my teeth. Can you move over a bit? Why? Because two grown men don't just squish together in bed. I swallowed my frustration. It's cramped. He didn't move. So I grabbed my blanket and shifted to the other side of the bed. But the next morning when I woke up, I completely lost it. I had woken up in his arms, and he was sleeping like a baby. This is bullsh. I rubbed my head. Denny, you. Half asleep, he pulled me back into his arms like it was the most natural thing in the world. I froze, feeling something odd between us. My mind blanked out for a moment before I realized what was happening. Denny felt it too. He opened his eyes, and we locked gazes. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I ripped the blanket off. What the hell is wrong with you? But to my horror, I realized my limit kept getting lower every time Denny pushed it. The next time he came in with his blanket, because he said he was afraid of thunder. Denny used to be scared of thunder, so I figured, okay, I'll let it slide. Then, the next night, he came back. His excuse? He had a nightmare. I cursed him out, but still let him stay. I was horrified at how much I could endure. Even worse, I was starting to realize I didn't really mind Denny getting close to me anymore. That realization hit me hard, and I spent the entire afternoon chain-smoking on the balcony. I couldn't figure out when I'd stopped being bothered by it. Standing there, looking out at my company, now back from the brink of bankruptcy, I decided to pin all this on Denny. Yeah, he might be a bit of a psycho, but he was still the same guy I knew in high school. Still loyal, still had my back. Without him, I would have been screwed. Maybe I wasn't rejecting Denny because he saved my company. Once the company's fully back on track, and I paid Denny back, everything can go back to normal. Thinking that, I felt a little more at peace. One day, out of the blue, I decided to ask Denny something that had been nagging at me. Do you seriously not remember me at all? At least my face should ring a bell. After all, those high school days were a big deal to me. When I finally asked, Denny paused, looking surprised. He was silent for a few seconds before saying, I don't think I ever denied it. I was shocked. When did you figure it out? I asked. Denny looked at me. A long time ago. He just never said anything. The more I thought about it, the weirder it seemed. You've known who I was this whole time, and this is how you treat me? I mean, we were brothers back then. Bros don't just randomly climb into bed together. Denny kept twirling his pen, his dark eyes fixed on me without saying a word. The day the company finally turned the corner, I let out the longest sigh of relief. Finally, I could pay Denny back and move on. But I also knew I couldn't have done it without him. Ever since Denny came back into my life, everything had slowly started to fall into place. So I decided to find him and thank him properly. That night, we got absolutely wasted. I threw my arm around his shoulder and said, Man, you haven't changed a bit. You're still just as loyal. Denny chuckled, his voice slurred with alcohol. You should know me by now. I never do anything without a reason. I was too drunk to care about the meaning behind his words. All I could think about was how I'd pay him back. Bro, I said, getting close to him, I'll pay you back double. I don't want money, Denny said, his voice low. Suddenly, he grabbed my chin. I want you. Half of the alcohol in my system disappeared in shock. I pushed him away, but the next second, Denny leaned in, his lips warm against mine. I was supposed to shove him off. Damn alcohol. Damn Denny and his soft lips. It's just one kiss, I thought. We've done worse, right? What's one kiss? In the soft light, Denny's face looked. I stubbornly thought, I'm not losing in this. By the time morning came, I woke up and lost it. I was in bed. With Denny, the room was a mess, my mind even messier. I had not seen this coming at all. I couldn't hold back the curse words that spilled out. I glanced down, every mark on me screamed about how wild last night had been. Denny's usual calm expression was also a bit stiff now. He called out to me, Chris, you animal. Tears of frustration welled up in my eyes. How the hell did we end up like this? No big deal. You can always even the score, next time. Next time. Are you kidding me? Is this something I can just get even for? I yelled. Denny, you're such an ass. How could he do this to me? We were supposed to be brothers. I started putting my clothes back on, swearing under my breath the whole time. Denny just watched me with this worried look on his face, like he wanted to help. He actually reached out, trying to steady me, and asked, Are you okay? Can you stand? What the hell kind of question is that? I forced myself to stand, legs still feeling weak, and through gritted teeth I snapped, Denny, I swear to God. Never in my wildest dreams. I found myself out on the balcony, smoking. The wind was strong. I smoked. The wind smoked me. And I still didn't understand how things had gotten this far. The worst part. I realized I'd accepted it. Like, without even realizing it, Denny had bent me in more ways than one. My hands shook as I took another drag from my cigarette. This is insane, I thought. I don't want to see his face for days. A few days passed. Denny nearly blew up my phone with texts and calls, like some guilty jerk begging for forgiveness. His messages kept popping up, sounding like a guy who knew he'd messed up. Can we talk? Please. We need to meet. That night, you didn't exactly say no, I thought. And then, the worst one. Still hurting. I was so mad when I read that. Hurting? One day, I'm going to stand in front of Denny and tell him straight to his face. I didn't feel a damn thing. After days of stewing in it, I finally cooled down and accepted reality. But I still hadn't come to terms with the fact that I was the one on the receiving end. As soon as I got back to work, the good news started pouring in. Big companies were suddenly lining up to partner with us, and we had more clients than I could count. I knew Denny had something to do with it. He'd definitely been helping me behind the scenes again. My anger started to fade, but I couldn't stop thinking about that night. Soft and light at first, but then he grabbed my hair, tilting my head back, deepening the kiss. I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. It was time to find Denny and tell him. Straight up, I didn't feel a thing. I called him, but to my surprise, no answer. The guy who had been blowing up my phone for days was suddenly missing in action. I hung up, making a mental note to add this to the list of things I was pissed at him for. As I stepped out of the office, I spotted him, Denny, and standing right next to him was Jesha. My breath caught, and my grip on my phone tightened. So Jesha's back. That explains why Denny hadn't been chasing me down these past few days. My mind started spiraling. I hadn't even known I was capable of this level of overthinking. I pulled out my planning documents, trying to focus on work, but my mind was all over the place. Of course, Jesha was Denny's dream girl from the beginning. I was always just a stand-in. So why the hell had Denny poured his heart and soul into me? What was I to him? I lit a cigarette, the frustration only building. My gut told me I needed to talk to Denny, so I went to his place. Surprisingly, he was home. Perfect. But just as I was about to walk in, I heard voices from inside, a man and a woman. Denny and Jesha. I froze at the door, listening. Snippets of their conversation floated out. Those words hit me like ice water over my head. I should have just walked away, heartbroken, but that's not my style. If I'm leaving, I'm dragging Denny out for a beatdown first. I kicked the door open. Sure enough, there they were. Both froze when they saw me. Denny looked surprised. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? Are you serious right now? Without a word, I marched up to him, grabbed his collar, and socked him right in the face. You played me, Denny, I growled. I wasn't holding back, and soon blood trickled from his mouth. But to my surprise, Chris, he said, are you jealous? I wanted to punch him again, but for some reason, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Denny might be a jerk, but I bit my lip, glaring at him, but before I could say anything, calm down, he said, like he was soothing a dog. You've got to be kidding me. Be good, he added. I clenched my teeth. Am I a dog to him? Why did I actually sit down on the couch and wait for his explanation? Half an hour later, he finally came out of the study with Jesha. She gave me a weird smile. I was going to explain, but maybe you two should sort this out yourselves. After she left, I stared Denny down. He better have a damn good reason for all this. If not, I was ready to knock his teeth out. But instead of talking, Denny walked over and hugged me. Chris, he whispered, his voice raspy, I missed you. Just like that, half my anger vanished, but I still kept a straight face. Don't think a hug is gonna save you from this beating. Denny nodded. Go ahead. Hit me if you want. And then he started explaining. Turns out his company had hit a little bump. I frowned. With a company as big as his, there shouldn't be external problems, right? He nodded. Yeah, it's an internal issue. Someone leaked company secrets. He asked if I remembered the guy he threw wine at during that first party I attended. Turns out that guy had been an important figure for Denny. After getting fired, he started working with the competition, selling company secrets. Legal stuff wasn't Denny's strong suit, but it was Jesha's. That's why he asked her to help. I honed in on the most important part. So Denny had been in contact with Jesha all along. I narrowed my eyes. Denny, you and Jesha planned this, didn't you? You set me up. He didn't deny it. He even admitted it freely. That did it. I grabbed him by the collar again, furious. What the hell, Denny? You and Jesha played me this whole time. I felt guilty, like I owed you, and now this. And on top of that, I'd slept with him. Damn it. Denny didn't answer. Instead, he asked if I remembered that snowy night a year ago. My hand trembled around his collar. Of course, I remembered. How could I not? After my startup failed and I was drowning in debt, I ran into Denny. He was the center of attention, while I didn't even have the guts to say hi. I didn't want Denny to see me like that, broken and humiliated, because I knew Denny hated people who gave up on themselves. He was one of the few people I actually respected. In high school, Denny got in trouble because he fought for me, and that got him transferred back to his hometown. His parents were pissed. They'd already uprooted their lives, and now, because of me, he had to leave again. That's why I didn't show up the day he left. That snowy night, Denny said, pulling me back to the present. I tensed up, he continued. I saw you. I froze. Why do you run from me? He asked softly. I looked away, not wanting to meet his eyes. No reason. Didn't want to see my bro struggling while I was doing nothing, or driving a Range Rover. Denny chuckled. Chris, he said, grabbing my chin, forcing me to look at him. You know I've been looking for you, right? For years. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I was stunned, speechless. What do you mean? I finally managed to ask. Denny didn't answer. Instead, he kissed me again, this time with a kind of vengeance. His words and actions had me reeling. I didn't sleep at all that night. I lit another cigarette, trying to calm down. How did I come to settle a debt, but end up sleeping with him again? Every time I saw Denny, something out of control happened. And the worst part? I still didn't know why. After a few days, I decided I needed answers. From Jessia, she was a little surprised when I showed up. I thought Denny would have told you by now, she said, didn't he? What the hell did we do? Can I even explain that? I hit him, I muttered. Did you? She laughed. Jessia and Denny were both loyal to a fault. Back in high school, when Denny was sent to transfer schools again, Jessia didn't hesitate to follow him. She always said Denny was like a little brother to her. A year ago, on that snowy night, Denny called her. His voice, usually calm, was shaky as he told her, I saw Chris. He saw me among a crowd, nearly running away like a coward. Denny told her that I was in debt. My startup had failed, and I was stuck paying off my father's massive debt too. He told her that it looked like life had broken my spirit, like I'd been crushed. Denny knew I would have taken Chris jobs just to make ends meet, and he wanted to step in and help, but I kept dodging him. So, he came to Jessia, and they planned this whole thing together. That's no small sum. It could pay off your debts and get your bankrupt company back on its feet. No way you'd walk away from that. But I still don't get it. Jessia tilted her head at me. Why are you avoiding Denny like this? I'd been asking myself that too. It just seemed like an automatic response. I didn't want him to see me like this. I didn't want to get mixed up with Denny again. We're on two different paths. But I still couldn't resist grabbing that 50 million, knowing it would put me in touch with him. I just didn't expect that money to come straight from Denny, like he was handing it to me with both hands. As soon as I left the cafe, I headed straight for Denny's company. Honestly, Denny is such a jerk. The moment he wiggles his fingers, I'm back at his beck and call. It was the same back then. And it's still the same now. I was always the one playing defense. So, this time, I made the first move. I grabbed Denny's chin and kissed him hard. His eyes widened, clearly not expecting that. Then I heard him chuckle softly. What's so funny? I asked, keeping my face stern. I've had enough of you always starting things. This time, it's my turn. It's all up to you. Men's words are sometimes as worthless as air, just like Denny's. He says it's up to me, but next thing I know, he's taken charge again. And just to piss me off even more, I hear him say something totally infuriating. But before I could snap back, a hand covered my eyes, and in the darkness, I heard his low voice. Be good. I'll teach you. You, motherfu. My words were cut off as his lips met mine. I bit him out of pure spite. Who on earth needs lessons on kissing? Later that night, after everyone at Denny's company had left, I finally pushed open his office door. Denny was sitting there, head down, not saying a word. Sensing something was off, I asked, Denny may. Sure enough, he looked up, and there it was, his dumbass grin. It's nothing. My lips were still tingling from that damn kiss. I grabbed Denny's chin again. Tell me the truth, Denny. All these years, why were you looking for me? I finally asked. Why? Denny's smile faded a little. I'd like to know that too. Every year since I transferred schools, I got a gift. Anonymously, he said, eyes dark. Chris, I've been wondering the same thing. I froze for a moment. Memories of my lame attempts to make up for things flashed through my mind. The Esterberg family name was famous. It wasn't hard to track down his address. After he transferred schools, I was constantly feeling guilty about what happened. So, every year, I sent him an anonymous gift. I'd always thought that if Denny hadn't met me, maybe things wouldn't have been so bad for him. So I was relieved when our time together was brief. People like Denny, he could easily forget someone like me, like that first day he brought me home. He once said I was the one who started it all. In a way, he wasn't wrong, but something still felt off. As I left his company, I kept thinking about it. I just sent those gifts to make up for what happened. It was purely platonic, just brotherly goodwill. How did things get so twisted in Denny's head? And when did he start taking it so personally? I stopped in my tracks, realizing I'd been played yet again. Wait a second. I grabbed his wrist. Were you stringing me along this whole time? Was I? No, I don't think so. You. Before I could finish, I caught a glimpse of a face I never wanted to see again. My words froze in my throat, and my grip on Denny's hand tightened involuntarily. In the fading light of the day, I saw the side profile that haunted me, a man I never wanted to face again. A scold fear washed over me, chilling me to my core. I stared, unable to speak. What's wrong? Denny noticed something was off and looked my way. I snapped out of it, instinctively pushing him back into the company. I didn't want him to be seen, but it was too late. There he was, standing at the entrance, holding a bag, like he'd been waiting for a while. The moment his eyes landed on Denny, his face lit up with excitement. He ran toward us, scanning Denny from head to toe, his gaze greedy. I stepped in front of Denny, my voice shaking with anger. I told you not to show up again. You're my son, Eric said with a sneer. What's the big deal if I check out your new friend? Not bad, Esterberg. Denny, right? You run a big company. What's there to hide? Eric chuckled and introduced himself to Denny. I'm Chris's Effie. I grabbed him by the collar, arm raised to silence him for good, but I couldn't throw the punch. He only had one arm left. He lost the other saving me in a car accident back when I was in college. I can't explain the feeling. I'd hated him my whole life, but in that moment, his first instinct was to protect me. Ever since then, I've known I'll never fully escape Eric. I just didn't think he'd track me down this fast, and right in front of Denny, no less. At that moment, I couldn't even look Denny in the eye. I couldn't speak either, as all the shame and embarrassment came flooding back, like that snowy night all over again. I shouldn't have dragged Denny into this mess. I yanked Eric away, ready to run, but Denny suddenly grabbed my wrist. Chris, he said, his voice unsteady, his grip tightening. Don't leave. Eric had come prepared. He demanded Denny hand over a bag of cash. I couldn't look at Denny, so I gritted my teeth and told him, don't do it. This has nothing to do with you. I'll handle it. But Denny's grip on me only tightened. Chris, he pulled me away from Eric, inch by inch, saying, come with me. We'll handle this together. In the end, I couldn't stand by Denny's side. I couldn't handle having this ticking time bomb hanging over me, waiting to explode. I couldn't let him ruin everything for Denny, so I told him I'd take care of it. I'm not going anywhere. Go home and wait for me. Denny didn't budge, just looked at me with those intense eyes. His stubbornness was unsettling. I promise I'll come back. After what felt like forever, Denny finally nodded. He patted my arm lightly. Don't lie to me. I got Eric into the car and promised to give him a steady flow of money, enough to keep him comfortable, as long as he stopped gambling. I had only one condition. He couldn't show up again, especially not in front of Denny. Eric chuckled. You mad? Looks like you really care about him, huh? Never took you for that type. I slammed the gas pedal, speeding toward a deserted road. The scenery outside blurred as we flew past. Eric clung to his seatbelt. Slow down, Chris. You're crazy. I'm crazy. Yeah, I said, unnervingly calm. Listen up, Eric. You've got two options. One, you take my money and leave this city for good. And two, I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. Expression cold, we die together. Eric started sweating. His breathing quickened. He wiped his forehead. You wouldn't. You've got that, boy. You want to test that theory? I gave up on living years ago. If it weren't for Denny, when my company went under, I should have just rotted away. The car was silent for a while, tension thick in the air. Sweat poured down Eric's face as he finally caved, his voice shaky. All right, I agree. By the time we got out of the car, his legs were like jelly. I shot him a cold look. Remember your promise. But if you cross me again, it won't end well for either of us. He cursed under his breath and walked off, card in hand. He was getting old. Seemed like the fear of death had finally caught up to him. When he was gone and the quiet settled around me, I leaned against the car and let out a long breath. I wasn't sure how I felt. I thought about going straight to Denny, but then I felt my phone in my pocket. I pulled it out, and to my horror, the call was still connected. My mind went blank for a second, then it all clicked. Before I left, Denny had slipped his phone into my pocket, call still running, everything. Every word I said to Eric in that car, Denny had heard it all. The next second, Denny pulled up right in front of me. I stood there, frozen, watching him get out of the car. His eyes were cold as ice, scanning me from head to toe. When he spoke, his voice was shaking slightly. "Chris, so this is what you meant by not planning to leave? If Eric hadn't agreed, were you really just going to?" "Denny, I've never gone back on my word." I knew he'd agree. He got the money, and he's terrified of dying. This was his last chance. If he shows up in front of you again, it means he's back to gambling, and I'll do whatever it takes to send him straight to jail. I didn't know what expression Denny had while listening to me say all this. It was a summer night, but his fingertips were chillingly cold. I took a deep breath and said, "It won't happen again." I was just scared that this hard-earned peace would be shattered. Denny just stared at me quietly. I wanted to say more, but then he suddenly pulled me into his arms. He held me so tight, I could barely breathe. "Chris, I worked so hard to pull you up. Don't let yourself fall again." My body tensed up in his embrace. "I won't," I promised. "Never again." Like Denny said, he had worked hard to bring me back from the brink. But I later found out that what he'd done for me went far beyond that. After he transferred schools, things weren't great for him at the Esterberg household either. Climbing to where he was today, no one knew what he had to sacrifice. But every year, he kept looking for me. And what was I doing during those years? Dodging debt collectors, even changing my name at one point. If I had known back then that Denny was looking for me, I wouldn't have let him see me in such a sorry state. The crazy thing is, Denny loved me, even in my messiest moments. When it came to Eric, though, I always felt like Denny held a grudge. The past few days, he'd been too calm, like the calm before the storm. As he casually placed food on my plate, I asked, "Are you really not mad anymore?" "Not even a little." He sounded genuine, but I didn't believe a single word. Denny has this habit, the angrier he gets, and this level of calm. Yeah, he's pissed. Turns out, I was right. Once things at the company settled down, Denny couldn't keep his mask on any longer. He looked at me, his fingers running through my hair, gently ruffling it. Then, out of nowhere, he yanked me into his arms, his breath hot against my ear. "Chris," he murmured, "I think it's about time you learned a lesson." My eyes shot open. I had a sinking feeling this lesson was not going to be, "Denny, don't even think about it. You said we were done with all this, but we can always revisit old issues." "You're talking nonsense." "I don't agree." I tried to bolt, but I barely made it 2 steps before Denny grabbed my wrist. Panic set in. I'd seen what Denny was capable of. His hands started to slide up my arm, his grip firm. Something cold snapped around my wrist, and before I knew it, I was completely at his mercy. The darkness made everything feel more intense, adding a layer of danger I couldn't predict. I swallowed nervously, trying to snap Denny out of whatever he was thinking. "Denny, seriously, this isn't funny," I managed to say, but my words were drowned out in the chaos that followed. Each time, Denny would ask me in a low voice if I knew I was wrong. I tried to speak, but he had my lips sealed shut, and all I could manage were muffled sounds. When I didn't give him an answer, he just went harder, more relentless. Finally, with a raspy voice and all the strength I had left, Denny, ever the one to respond, whispered softly, "All right. The night is long." Then, with a teasing smile, he added, "Boss, better hold on tight.